My word of the year is Delulu. And what's more Delulu than start a podcast when you're in your late 30s, when you are a creative nobody with 3,000 followers on Instagram? I want a space at the intersectionality of my identities. Some of my identities, anyway. I'm queer, I'm neurodivergent, I'm a second generation migrant, I am a first generation migrant. I want this platform to be an inspirational place for business owners and solopreneurs, just like me, who are creating a big life, but who've had a different experience than what we hear in the wellness space, e.g., corporate burnout turned coach. There's nothing wrong with that, but I personally don't relate to that. And for this first episode, I'm going to set the scene. I'm going to tell you my story and some of the lessons that I want to convey to you. It took me, 36 years to learn. I was raised in France from a Madagascan mom, or Malagasy, as we say in Madagascar. Single mom who was a nurse before she retired. And I grew up in the most horrible part of France. Slight exaggeration, but people tend to romanticize France in the UK. And let me tell you, the city, the town I grew up in is nothing to be romanticized. It's small enough that there is no culture, or there wasn't when I grew up there, but it's not so small that it's like a village and there is a big sense of community. My mum and I experienced a lot of financial hardship that went on until my early adulthood, and I have experienced a lot of trauma. I will not elaborate because this is a very public space and we're not here to trauma dump. But I know it's very common in the wellness space. I think we are all here because something happened and we want to help others. For context, I now run a creative business in the wellness space between the UK and Europe. Let's talk about the messy middle, or how I got to where I am now. From my teenage years until my late 20s, on and off, I was experiencing eating disorders, a few of them due to childhood trauma. And I found photography when I was around 15 as a way to express myself, but also to escape my reality. And I actually knew from a very young age that this is what I wanted to do with my life, which was very delusional of 15-year-old me. But you see, I'm 36 now and I'm still delusional, so nothing has changed. I moved to London at 25. And when people ask me why I moved to London, I never know what to say so I don't inspire pity. But I moved here because I was fucking depressed, bro. I was at my rock bottom, probably, and I knew I needed a change, so I just escaped my problems. I didn't have any friends here. I barely had any money, just a couple €1,000 that I had saved up doing waitressing. I had one acquaintance here who kindly lent me a mattress in her living room. She's now my best friend, Sam. If you're listening to this, I'm talking about you, baby. When I lived in France, I tried to make it as a photographer, but I had no idea how to make things work. Back then, I was doing film photography and trying to get into fine art. I had a couple of exhibitions. I was even signed by an agent, but really, I wasn't making any coins. Hence the waitressing jobs. In London, I paid my rent by working in retail in a famous photography shop that is yellow and black. And it was horrible as you can expect. And it was made even more horrible by my mentality, because I felt like an absolute loser doing this job. It was eating away at my soul. I was treated like shit by management, by customers. And I'm not going to lie to you, it took me a while to love people after this job once I quit. And if you know me and if you know my work, you know that loving people is at the core of my work. So it feels weird to think about this past version of myself who was really angry and bitter and sad and really hateful of people, actually. I started yoga as a practitioner alone in my bedroom. I practiced for a couple of years before I decided to train to become a yoga teacher. And I remember exactly when I became a teacher, I stood in my bedroom and I said out loud, okay, this photography thing is not working out. I am gonna give up and focus my efforts on teaching yoga. It was an exciting time because it was the first time in my day-to-day that I was not doing a job that was completely awful. I was 30 at the time. So you can imagine my whole adult years were spent working in shit jobs. I met a lot of people in that period and I experienced a lot of healing. And I created an Instagram account for my thoughts around yoga. And I started showing up online to a very small audience, talking about my eating disorder recovery, talking about body dysmorphia, which I experienced a lot at a time. And I started being known in my small circle for just that. I was still doing photography at the time because I never really stopped. So I carried that on onto my photography account. And I carried on talking about this, and it turned into feminism and activism, anti-weight stigma, inclusivity, things that are really important to me. And I inadvertently built a brand centered around empowering people and inviting them to lean into their differences, to lean into what makes them misfits in the wellness industry. I built my creative business called Lila Co without a corporate background, without family wealth, without a rich husband, in the most expensive city in the world. Maybe not the most expensive, but one of them. I built a successful business with absolutely no business knowledge, no marketing knowledge, no branding knowledge. Eventually, I educated myself. Tell you what, it would have saved me a lot of time to learn all of that at school, but here we are now. Now, my business provides photography, video, brand design, brand strategy, and social media management for wellness entrepreneurs, wellness brands, and creatives. And I also do some one-on-one coaching for photographers who want to build a sustainable and successful photography business. And what I really want to share with you is that your circumstances don't define you. The same way my circumstances didn't define me. You have more agency than what you think. And you can build the big life that you want, the business that you want, even if your starting point is further back than other people. I skipped over a lot of things, as you can imagine. This was not an easy journey. But I am grateful for the hardship because it wouldn't have made me into the photographer, the videographer that I am now. I may not have had the same sensibility and the same values. If you enjoyed listening to this, then hi, I hope to see you again. My name is Camille and I run Lila Co. You can interact with this podcast wherever you see it to help boost its visibility. You can also follow us. What you can expect from then on is unusual business insights, interviews with people who inspire me, inspiration, and motivational words. I hope you enjoyed having me in your ears. Bisous!